Okay, good morning, guys. So before starting today's session, guys, I would like to inform something. So if you check, the Zoom meeting ID and other details are there in the WhatsApp group description, guys. The timings and, like I have mentioned days also. Just now I have updated the WhatsApp group description. So classes will be from Monday to Saturday. Previously, I used to take only from Monday to Friday, right? And I used to take one hour 15 minutes like that, or 1 hour 30 minutes like that. But however, so as I am taking only 1 hour session now, so I am taking session on Saturday as well. You see over here, right? I clearly mentioned the timings 8 to 9 a.m. IST. This is your WhatsApp group, common WhatsApp group description, guys. July 2023 JMeter LR batch, right? Monday to Saturday. That is one thing. Another thing is you have Zoom meeting ID in the WhatsApp group description as well. So, like if you are attending from some other machine, or if you don't have Zoom meeting ID handy, please don't ping me. You can check the WhatsApp group description, right? So, and we will not go anywhere without our mobile, right? Isn't it? And another thing is, in every video in the recorded session, I am sharing the playlist URL as well. So if you see here, this is yesterday's session, yesterday's recording session. And if you check the description part, you have the playlist URL. Observe here, July 2023 performance testing batch with JMeter, BlazeMeter, LoadRunner, and Dynatrace batch playlist URL. And if you click on the playlist URL, you will get all the videos related to your batch. Clear, guys? All the recorded sessions of your batch. Right? So, so that, sometimes you may not get email, or sometimes this recorded session mail will be landing in your spam folder, or sometimes you will not get email due to some technical issue on YouTube side. Still you can access unless until I revoke access, you can access any video in the playlist URL. Clear, guys? And I'm giving dates also. In every video, I'm giving dates in a sequential order. So please follow those dates. Please observe those dates. July 17th, July 18th, July 15th. You have, I'm giving date as well as what concept I am covering on each day. Clear, guys? And you'll have the same concept, listed in the what's your batch tracker as well, batch tracker sheet as well. And I have shared this batch tracker also with everyone. Clear, guys? With everyone who confirmed their joining into this batch, right? I think we almost have full house, so I'll start the session then. And like we'll have daily assessment, first for the first 5 to 10 minutes from tomorrow, as we already ran out of time today. I will go to the session. I'll start the session today. From tomorrow onwards, we'll be having daily assessment for the first 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. And don't skip that deliberately, wantedly. If someone is joining late, I would be asking them questions. Clear, guys? And classes are from Monday to Saturday. Okay. So you need not ping me like, do we have class today? If there is no class, I would be informing in the WhatsApp group at least, half an hour or 1 hour before. Any queries, guys? Guys, any queries? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, Pawan.
Yes, Pawan.
Okay. All right then. So what did we complete yesterday? We completed different types of testing, right? Performance testing, right? Now let's move on to the next concept. And we are already done with this assessment also, right? So in the last 2 sessions, we discussed what are the different types of performance testing in detail. And then we had an assessment also on these graphs. Remember, please remember, interviewers will ask you to draw the graph. Okay, they will not show you, they will not draw the graph and ask you to identify. Please remember that. Okay, so they will ask you to identify, they will ask you to draw the graph, to share your screen and draw the graph, even if it is an online interview. Understood, guys? They will ask you to share your screen and draw the graph. So, practice, how to draw this. You choose either, paint or any other tool. Okay. Okay. All right. So now let's discuss what is the importance of performance testing and what are the prerequisites for performance testing. So we'll discuss today what is the importance of performance testing, importance of PT, prerequisites. And by the way, like this weekend, I am going to share you week 1 assessment. So today is Wednesday, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. Hopefully we'll complete our week 1 assessment concepts, and I will be sharing you week 1 assessment this weekend. This Sunday, Saturday or Sunday, I will be sharing that to your Gmail ID. And please don't forward to anyone, and please don't, you are supposed to attempt that only once. So if anyone is attending twice, like I will not share the further assessment. Okay. So you are supposed to attempt only once, guys. So the reason is there is a strong reason for that. So some people are forwarding to their friends or relatives, right? That is the reason. So don't forward to anyone, or don't attempt, try to attempt second time. Like we cannot entertain that. There are no 1+1 or 1+2 offers, guys. Okay. And mandu kaapothe Mother Teresa, Brother Teresa అయిపోతారు అందరూ. So please, no Mother Teresa's and no Brother Teresa's. So if you really want to help anyone, so any of your friends, we are already offering referral amount, good referral amount. All right, guys. So importance of performance testing, right? So let's understand what is the importance of performance testing. So you might have experienced many a times, right? So can you list out, mention some websites, where the response times are higher, and you left that website in your experience, guys? Any banking website or any travel website or any e-commerce website? IRCTC, yes. Wonderful example, really. IRCTC used to be very irritating and frustrating like 10 years back. So, but of course, like, from the past 5 to 10 years, it was very good. Before 10 years, when I started my career and when I used to use IRCTC for ticket booking, it used to be a horrible experience to whenever we want to book a ticket. We used to sit with, two or three systems in our room whenever we were bachelors, right? If you want to book one ticket, we used to try from 2 to 3 machines. There are no smartphones also at that time, right? Or there are no such good internet speeds also, isn't it? There are no bigger screens like now. So we used to sit with 2 or 3 laptops or desktops and be ready, like by the time, Tatkal opens or by whenever we want to book a ticket, right? How many of you experienced in this case? And there is no guarantee that the ticket will be booked. Even though tickets are available, there is no guarantee that ticket will be booked. So it used to fail at some or other page, either, while adding the passengers details, or, while making the payment, it used to fail. And again, we have to do it from the beginning. How many of you experienced this, guys? Yes,
I have experienced.
This.
I have experienced.
Right. So, and then what did you do? Yeah, Upendra. So when, are you continuing using IRCTC, or did you look out for some other option? We can book train tickets on other websites as well, right? On, I think, Clear Trip or Make My Trip, isn't it? Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Right. So I have immediately created an account with Clear Trip or Make My Trip. I don't remember exactly, but I have looked out for some other option, right? And any banking websites, which whose response times are horribly high, or where you frequently face performance issues.
State Bank of
Banking
India.
websites. Yes.
Bank of India.
Bank of India. Okay.
State Bank.
What is it?
SBI.
SBI. Yeah, SBI. Yeah, SBI is relatively good as per my experience. And Axis Bank, whenever we want to make a fund transfer or any transaction, right? we will get an OTP, right? Most of the transactions, OTP is required for most of the transactions. And my experience with Axis Bank also was horrible, like 10 years back. Where, I used to have my salary account in Axis Bank 10 years back. And, like if I want to do some fund transfer or credit card payment or bill payment, so OTP, OTP has an expiry period of 30 seconds previously. And that OTP never comes within that, used to never come within that 30 seconds time. By the time I get the OTP on my mobile and I enter OTP, it says OTP has expired. Please reinitiate the transaction. How many of you experienced this one? No one experienced this with Axis Bank. Of course, it was good again from last 4 to 5 years. They improved it a lot. Right now we are getting OTP at least after 10 to 15 seconds, and they increased that expiry time also, seems like, right? So if any user, if any website response time is more than 5 seconds, or if you are seeing that page can't be displayed, or some error pages or scrambled pages, sometimes we get scrambled pages, right? Anyone observed that we get some scrambled pages? Like the page will not be loaded properly. I'll show you some screenshots tomorrow. What do I mean by scrambled pages? So I have to search for the screenshot. I'll search and I'll show that tomorrow. Okay. Sometimes, but you know that, right? You might have seen this. Like sometimes the page doesn't get loaded properly. Yes or no, guys?
Yes, Pawan.
Right. So whenever, you see that those kind of issues with any application, web application or mobile application, right? Most users move away to other websites or applications. Yes or no? Most users move away to other websites, means they will stop using that website, problematic website, and they look for some other options, isn't it? If response times are more than 5 seconds or 3 seconds, right, based on the transaction. So when I started my career, right, so response time used to be, average acceptable response time used to be 8 seconds. That is 15 years back. Thereafter, it came down to 5 seconds. Nowadays, the standard is 3 seconds. Any website or any application should load within 3 seconds. That is the acceptable range nowadays. Clear, guys? Right? However, like if there are some statement transactions, some pages can have 5 seconds response time, right? But like users don't have much patience, right? They move to other websites if your website is not working properly, or if you are not seeing a proper page, etc. If the page is not loading properly or not loading on time, or if you are not receiving OTP on time, isn't it? Most users move away to other websites, and that will impact the business of revenue, right? That will impact the revenue of the business, isn't it?
Yes, Pawan.
So it is estimated that there is a $4 to $5 billion revenue loss only due to poor web application performance. Just because of your website if your website doesn't work properly, this would be the revenue impact for that business. Clear, guys? And inadequate performance can adversely impact revenue by up to 10%. Your business can be impacted by up to 10%, right? And any business performance begins to suffer at 5 seconds of delay in web application response time and 4 seconds for critical applications. You need not remember these numbers. I did not highlight anything, but understand the importance of performance testing. Okay, that's it. So because these numbers change from time to time, you need not remember these numbers. Okay, only thing is, like, response time should be 3 to 5 seconds nowadays. It should not take more than 3 to 5 seconds, right? Just remember that. And any additional second of waiting on a website significantly impacts customer satisfaction and visitor conversion. What is meant by visitor conversion? Any additional second of waiting on a website significantly impacts the customer satisfaction and visitor conversion. What is meant by visitor conversion?
Customer moving to other portals.
Client.
Okay, so
They may not come back to visit again.
Or user may not create an account, isn't it? Suppose, how many of you heard about JioMart, and how many of you saw that website? Like, what are the products available, and how is the interface and all? JioMart recently entered into last year, I think. Last year they entered into e-commerce business, right? JioMart is our from our Reliance company,
Yes.
Reliance company, right? So how many of you heard that and how many of you visited their website? Not many, right? Isn't it? Yes or no, guys? So we are from many years we have been accustomed or habituated to Amazon, isn't it? So how many of you did? No one visited the website also. Even none of you
I have
looked at the
visited, sir.
website.
I have
GeoMart
visited.
app I have used.
What is
GeoMart.
it?
GeoMart app I have used.
App you have used, okay, right? So so basically, so I have visited this website, but I did not like the products, and the product range is not as vast as Amazon, right? Clear, guys? And also like most of the products are not available in our area for delivery. So
Yeah.
I'm not, at least, and of course, it is still in beta version, guys, right? GeoMart, this is beta version. It's still in experimental phase. Okay, but they are, delivering to some locations right now. So if you're, if you don't like the interface or if you see some delay in the response time, right? Any additional second of waiting significantly impacts the customers. Yeah, we are discussing visitor conversion. So I have visited their website, but I did not create an account. If I had created an account, then we call that as visitor conversion. Means someone who visited the website created an account and started using that. Then we say that visitor conversion happened. Understood, guys? What is meant by visitor conversion?
Yes, Pawan.
Right? And see, many people join the demo during the demo session, right? Of course, we have very good conversion rate. We have very good conversion rate, in fact. So we started the demo with 30 people. I think in the demo session, like how many people joined? 24, right? And we have, you can see that visitor conversion. Yes or no, guys?
Yes, Pawan.
Right? Of course. So we have very good visitor conversion, or like we have very good inquiry conversion. So basically, but because they are satisfied with the course contents and satisfied with the presentation and are satisfied with the training material and all this, right? You will also, everyone should have inquired with multiple places, right? Multiple training centers or multiple online trainings, isn't it? And you might have visited some demonstrations of others as well. Yes or no, guys? Each one of you. Yes or no, guys? So I remember this guy. Okay, this guy saying, who is this guy? W. Ravan. Who is that guy? Anyone remember? Know his name?
Lalita Jeweler.
Yeah.
Lalita.
What is his name? Kiran Kumar. It's an inspiring story, actually. His story was very inspiring. So please, read his story. If you haven't, if you don't know about him, he started, from a very, very normal. He was a regular employee, someone who used to work on regular wages, daily wages. And now, like, something like recently I visited, Amirpet Metro. So wherever, not only Amirpet Metro, wherever, whatever station I go, now if you visit next time any metro station, observe there. So their boards are everywhere. Their advertisement boards are everywhere. And metro charges 50,000 per month for each board. 50,000 to 1 lakh based on the size of the board. And you can just imagine how much he's spending for advertisement, right now, and how much their turnover would be. Anyone knows his story? Okay, very inspiring story. So he started as a regular wages, an employee as on a regular wages, daily wages. All right. So next, page viewers conversion rate and customer satisfaction drops 11.7% and 16% respectively. Right. So these all speaks about like what is the importance of performance testing, right? So there are many, like I can give a lot of examples around this, but most of you know what is the importance of performance testing because you yourself, telling some incidents where you are not satisfied with some website and move to some other website, right? I think that is more than enough. So, everyone know what is the importance of performance testing. And it is the performance testing team in any organization. So whenever developer writes any code and, want to release new build, right? Build to production, it is the performance testing team who should give sign off to that build. Please remember that. Right? You may be wondering why, performance testing engineers are paid more salary than developers. More or, equal or more salaries than developers. This is the main reason. So whenever, developers write some new feature, add some new feature to the application, right? And whenever, they want to release some new feature to production, it is a performance test team who should give sign off or approval for that build, go or no go for the build. So performance testing is a critical role. Performance test engineer plays a critical role in any software project, guys. And that is the reason why, even 3 years experience guys are getting 10 to 15 lakhs, 4 years experience, one of my students got 16.5 lakhs package for 4 years experience. Okay. And there are some more stories like 3 years experience guy got 15 lakhs package in a service-based company, Value Labs. Value Labs offered, right? Of course, this is as per my knowledge, guys. So without my knowledge, there may be more packages also than this. But whatever I know, I am disclosing those. So 3 years experience guy got 15 lakhs package from Value Labs Hyderabad. For performance, this is possible with performance testing, even though we don't write any code. Of course, developers may be having more salaries, more packages also, but they need programming knowledge. They need a lot of coding knowledge, programming knowledge. But performance engineer doesn't require any coding knowledge, right? Not mandatory. If you are having, that's well and good, but it's not mandatory. And what is the reason for that? Because performance test engineer should give approval for the build to whether a build should go into production or not. Clear, guys? That is the importance of performance testing. Now, what are the prerequisites for doing performance testing? What are the prerequisites for doing performance testing? So, means if you want to start performance testing or if you want to do performance testing, what are the prerequisites? What are the kind of preconditions? A stable build, first one is a stable build with no major functional defects. A stable build with no major functional defect. What is the meaning of this? So let's understand this. I already gave some examples of critical business flows previously, right? For a net banking application, these are the critical business flows, right? Login and check balance, fund transfer, add beneficiary, credit card payment, etc. Now let's say developers told that we released a new build to production. Can you please start testing? They'll ask functional team to do functional testing and performance testing team to do performance testing, and security testing team supposed to do security testing. Right? Now, what are the prerequisites for doing performance testing is, first and foremost one is, there should not be any major functional defects. There should not be any major functional defects. Major, what is this major and minor? Right? So, if you remember, we discussed what are the critical business flows of the application, isn't it? What are the critical business flows of any application? So these are the critical business flows for a net banking application, right? Or these are the critical business flows for any e-commerce application. Suppose if you are testing a net banking application like ICICIbank.com or HDFCbank.com or bankofindia.com, someone mentioned that bankofindia.com, right? And these are the critical business flow, right? Fund transfer, adding beneficiary, login and check balance, credit card payment, etc. So if your fund transfer, let's assume that your fund transfer is not working, right? So developer wrote some new code, added some new feature, after which we are observing some functional defects in fund transfer flow. So now, can we proceed, should we proceed with performance testing for that application?
No.
No, we cannot proceed. Doesn't make any sense because this is one of the critical business flow. And if there are functional defects in this important business flow like fund transfer, there is no point in doing performance testing, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
If you are seeing some issues in functional issues in e-com in placing an order on Amazon or Flipkart or any e-commerce application like Big Basket or any of this, if you are placing an order or adding to cart is not working, right? Add to cart feature is not working, then doesn't make any sense to do performance testing for that application, right? Because that is an important feature, isn't it? Yes or no, guys? So there should not be any major functional defects. Please remember this. And performance test environment should be identical to production environment. Performance testing environment. So we already discussed that, right? In the demo sessions, right? So we will have a dedicated environment for performance testing that is called as test environment or engineering environment. Some organizations call it as engineering environment. Okay. Some organizations call it as performance test environment. Okay. So I'll elaborate this performance test environment or engineering environment. And it should be identical to production environment. What is meant by identical? Right? What is meant by identical to production environment? What does this?
Same. Not exactly, but
Similar. Similar.
It should be an exact replica of production. No, it should be an exact replica. Okay. That means, let me explain. So suppose this is your production environment architecture. In the production environment, you are having 3 web servers, 4 application servers, and 3 database servers, right? So this is a typical, web application architecture, guys. So you have 3 web servers, 4 app servers, and 3 database servers. And nowadays we have containers, bots, and all this. We'll discuss that later. So, this is simple to understand. So we'll discuss that, cloud architecture later on. Clear, guys? We'll discuss, what is, what are containers, what are pods, right? And all those in the last 1 week, right? Because we have guys from non-computers background, I'll go from a basic level. So if you assume that this is a typical web application architecture, and this is the production environment configuration, 3 web, in which there are 3 web servers, 4 application servers, and 3 database servers. And now what is web server, what is web server, I'll explain in detail, right? Now your test environment also should have same number of servers and same software configuration and same hardware configuration. Your performance test environment also should be an exact replica of production or identical to production. Clear, guys? Then only we will get accurate results. Okay. Then only we will get accurate results. Clear, guys? What if we don't have? We'll discuss that later. And sometimes we will have a downsized environment, scaled down environment. Okay. Scaled down environment. We call that as scaled down environment or downsized environment. Scaled down or downsized environment. That means, 50% of production, something like this. 50% of production or 25% of production. That means, let's say you have 4 application servers in production environment. In test environment, you may be having only 2 app servers, right? Or 1 app server. That is possible. In some cases, that is possible. That kind of environment is called as scaled down environment or downsized environment. Then we need to do some calculations and extrapolation to get the results, accurate results. To get close to accurate results, we will not get accurate results again, right? So we'll discuss that later. So for now, understand that your performance test environment should be identical to production environment. Is it clear, guys, everyone? What is meant by identical to production environment means? Okay, let me do one thing. So let me write it down in the class notes. What does that mean is, so test environment, performance test environment, okay, PT, I'll call it as PT environment, should have same software and hardware configuration. And same settings as well, right? Configuration as prod environment. What is meant by prod environment?
Production environment.
Means, what is the meaning of production environment?
which goes for live.
Right, which is available for end users. Live environment, which is available for end users. For example, this is the production environment of IRCTC, isn't it? Or this is the production environment of ICICIbank.com, right? We will not do any testing in production environment. We will do testing in test environment, isn't it? We discussed that already before. So functional testing will be done in which environment? Functional testing will be done Yes, we already discussed this. In which environment unit testing will be done?
SIT,
No, unit testing. Unit testing.
unit testing,
Developers,
CIT, sir. Development
development,
dev
Development
environment, sir.
environment. Unit testing will be done in development environment by the developers. And integration testing will be done in SIT environment. Functional testing will be done in QA environment, right? Performance testing will be done in test or engineering environment, right? And then, so these are called as low-level environments. Production environment is high-level environment. Production environment is high-level environment, HLE. And all these, your dev environment or SIT or QA environment or test environment, all these are called as low-level environments, LLE. Low-level environments, right? Remember this terminology. These will be used in, in your projects or real time, right? So interface may ask you, in which environment are you doing testing, right? And what are the lower level environments you have access? Suppose if they want to check whether you have in-depth knowledge or not, right?
Pawan, can you elaborate in the
hands-on
notes,
or not.
right?
What is that?
Can you elaborate those names in notes?
Okay, yeah. So HLE stands for higher level environment. So if they want to check whether you have, hands-on experience or not, right? They'll ask these questions like this: in which, what all environments you have access, right? They can ask these questions, these kind of questions. So you can say that, I have access to, performance test environment and QA environment or SIT. Okay. Dev environment, we will not have access. Obviously, only developers will be having that. So, you may be having access to test and QA environment. Okay. In some cases, like you may have access to SIT also. Clear guys? So in my current project, I have only access to performance test environment. So yesterday I have raised a request for QA environment. Okay, because I want to check something in the QA environment as well. Clear guys? So you should know which environment you will be having access, and which team will be having which environment, and which team will be working in which environment. Clear guys? Now, so and performance, so QA and all will be very, your QA environment may be running on a single machine. Okay, that will not be identical to production. Only performance test environment will be identical to production. Generally only this performance test environment will be identical to production. Clear guys? All other environments will be, will be very downsized environments or very small scale environments, or they will be running only on a single machine. Unlike this, right? But production environment, your web server, app server, DB server will not be running on single machine. They will be separated. They will be running on different machines. Is it clear guys, or any queries? We'll discuss this architecture. I'll explain in detail what is web server, what is app server, what is database server. We'll discuss it probably in tomorrow's session. And once we complete all these basics, then I will be starting. I'm planning to start JMeter from next week. And once we have this weekly assessment this weekend or early next week, then we will move to the JMeter tool guys. Okay. And to ensure consistent results, I'll go to the next point if you don't have any queries. To ensure consistent results, performance test environment should be isolated from other environments such as user acceptance testing or development environment. Means no other team should be using performance test environment. Okay. No other testing while doing performance test executions. Right? These are the prerequisites or precondition tests. These are the prerequisites for doing performance testing. And we should conduct performance testing before the application go live. Right? Obviously. So before the application go live, we will do performance testing, and performance testing team should give a sign off, go or no go, right? Sign off or go or no go, go or no go, right? Or a green flag or a red flag, right? For that build to go into production or not. Understood guys? And we need to have a comprehensive understanding and knowledge of the application. We need to thoroughly understand the application. Clear guys? You need to understand the application architecture, right? And what are the different components, what are the upstream and downstream systems, That you will get, when you join in any project, they will give you KT, knowledge transfer sessions will be there, and they will give you that. Okay. They will explain, someone in the senior team member in the team will explain you the application architecture and all. They'll give some KT sessions whenever you join any new project. Clear case? But these are the prerequisites for doing performance testing. Yes, any queries?
Yeah, sir, can we get some practical idea about these environments while doing performance testing, while learning JMeter? Environment idea also, can we get practically? Is it possible?
No, I don't have any projects. I mean,
Okay.
I am not,
Okay.
doing any performance testing services on my own as of now. Otherwise, I will have access. Okay.
Okay.
So and also I cannot give online. Okay. So because even like previously I used to do some freelancing project. Then I used to give some, so I did some freelancing project for a client called Ardhayantra. Okay. I'll show that it is there in some other, drive. So I did some freelancing project, when I was not working, or I used to do some freelancing project for this. I did performance testing on a freelancing basis for this client. There I had access to their stage environment and performance test environment. Okay. And even though I cannot give it online because the reason is whenever they give some project to us, right? Or whenever we are working in a company, they will ask us to sign the NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Okay, we are not supposed to share it online. So NDA means non-disclosure agreement. Okay. So we sign an agreement saying that we will not disclose their details to any other third party outside person. Okay. So and then I used to provide it those who attend classroom training. Because if I give it online, if I share it online, there is a risk that someone may share that recording to someone else, and it will be a legal issues. It will end up in legal issues. Clear? So I still have, we are still doing performance testing on a freelancing basis to them. We have access, but we cannot provide those online. We can't show all those online. Got it?
Okay, sir. Not an issue.
Okay. Any other queries, guys? But I'll explain you the application architecture and all, complete application. Once we start the scripting, right, I'll explain all the pages in the application thoroughly. Okay. What are the features in that application and all, we'll discuss that thoroughly. I will give you this comprehensive understanding and knowledge of the application that we are going to test, or that we are going to do scripting. Any queries, guys, before we move to the next concept? We have 10 more minutes. I'll discuss, waterfall model process diagram and, agile model. We'll discuss what is the difference between waterfall and agile and what is meant by application architecture, right? We'll discuss this waterfall and agile later on. So let me cover application architecture. What is meant by application architecture, right? So architecture means that is a pictorial representation of an application components. Another important interview question, guys. Can you explain your application architecture? Very important interview question. Can you explain your application architecture? Those who are, trying with experience, yes, particularly, right? They will ask you to explain the application architecture. What is meant by application architecture? Architecture is nothing but it is a pictorial representation of an application components. Components means servers. See, any application will contain these components, different components, right? We already discussed that. What is meant by component? What is the meaning of component, guys?
Piece is nothing.
Components means part of something, right? Small part of something is called as a component, isn't it? Now, any application contains different components like this: web server, app server, DB server, load balancer, etc. Now, what is meant by application architecture diagram? It is a pictorial representation of an application's components, software, and connections. How these are connected, right? So if you see this diagram, architecture diagram, so you see that, like all request. So users may be using different browsers, isn't it? Different users may be using different browsers. I am using Chrome. Right now, I am using Chrome. Some people may be interested in using Edge browser, or some may be interested in using Firefox browser, isn't it? So thousands and lakhs of users will be accessing the application using their browser, and all the requests will first go to web server, right? So this architecture diagram is showing you the connections, right? How your request will go, how the request will travel, isn't it? All the requests, from these browsers, all these browsers will go to first web server via a load balancer. And what is the job of load balancer? Whenever you have more than one web server or more than one app server, basically whenever you have more than one server, the load balancer will balance the load. It will distribute the user load across all the servers. So that, the name itself implies, right? Load balancer. It balances the user load. Clear, guys? And what are the different load balancer algorithms? So, another important interview question. Which load balancer are you using in your application? They may ask you, what is a load balancer? Load balancer, and which load balancer algorithm is used in your current project? Clear, guys? So what is a load balancer, by the way? Is it a software or a hardware? Any guess? Guys, am I audible?
Software and it should be.
It should be
Software.
right. Load balancer is a software. Load balancer is a software, and there are different load balancer algorithms. Okay, a round robin algorithm, least we recently used LRU algorithm, etc., etc. So we'll discuss that later. Okay, so we have a separate slide for that. So these are the different load balancer algorithms. You should at least remember those names. If not, how they work, at least you should remember those names. Okay, and tell some load balancer algorithm name. Clear, guys? Now, so this load balancer software, what does it do? It will distribute the load across all the servers. Now all your requests will first go to web server, and then web server is called as presentation tier. Basically, whatever, suppose if you are visiting any website like IRCTC or Amazon.in or Amazon.com, right? Whatever you see, right, that content will be served from the web server. That content will be served to the user from the web server, right? That's why this is called as presentation server. This web server is called as presentation tier, right? It should be pronounced as tier. Clear, guys? I'll go to slideshow mode so that it will be more clearly visible. So this web server is also called as presentation tier. And now, see, but there is okay, let me give some example again. Let me go back to browser. And now, suppose, like I'll take some example. I'll take some Gmail example. Suppose you type gmail.com, and this page will be served by the web server. Or else if you type irctc.co.in, this page, you will get this page from the web server itself. Or you go to Amazon website. Again, this page, this content, all these images, this HTML code, images, right? All these will be served by web server, right? But if you search for some product, let's say you search for some product, right? Your web server cannot do that job. So basically you will have that law, or else, you are searching for trains from one city to another city on IRCTC or Redbus, right? If you search for buses from one, let's not go to Redbus example. That is a different story. Okay, we'll discuss that. When I cover API testing, I'll explain, why Redbus is different from these regular applications. We'll discuss that when I cover API testing. So let's say you searched for trains between two cities like this, from Hyderabad to Bangalore or any other city, right? Your web server doesn't have all these details, all these train details, availability details, and all will be stored in the database server in some table. Now, we should have a mechanism we should have some code, right, to fetch those data from the database. And that code will be running in this application server. Your application logic will be running in this application server or logic tier or application tier. This is also called as logic tier or application tier. Is it clearly visible? It should be clearly visible now, right? And now, suppose it is a Java application or a .NET application, right? So that Java code or .NET code, right, that will be running in this application server layer. And internally, let's assume it is a Java application, and there will be some SQL query like this. Select when you search for trains between two cities, some query will be running like this. There will be some query like this. Select star from trains table where source city is equal to Hyderabad and destination is equal to Bangalore, right? So there will be some SQL query like this, which will be written in some Java code, which will be called from Java code, right? And that query or that code connects to the database. That code connects to the database, and it will fetch the data from the database, right? So this is the reason you need to have some basic knowledge on SQL, okay, which I told you yesterday. Yesterday we discussed it, right? So basic knowledge of SQL is required for any testing, is not only performance testing, okay. Even if you are going into manual testing or automation, performance, security, some basic knowledge, SQL knowledge is required. Clear, guys? So how many of you started that SQL tutorials on W3 Schools website? I think yesterday or day before yesterday we discussed that, right? How many of you started those, learning those SQL tutorials? Anyone started or no? Not yet. Guys, please respond, guys.
Okay.
Guys, I cannot go to the time. So please respond. Please respond over microphone. Please speak out. Guys, there is some background noise. I have muted everyone. If someone want to speak, right, press and hold the space bar on your keyboard if you want to speak out something for a couple of seconds, right? So press and hold the space bar on your keyboard. That is the shortcut for unmuting yourself temporarily, right? So some SQL query will be running in the Java, will be called from the Java code, and it will connect to the database and get those details. And ultimately you will see these results once you search, right? I have shown you that search results, isn't it? So now again, that that details will be fetched from the database server by application server, and application server will send that response to web server, and web server will show that page ultimately. It's web server only who should show these results, or who should show these search results to the user, right? So that's why that is called as presentation tier. Whatever you see in the browser, right? So that will be always served by this web server. Clear, guys? Yes, and you should understood what is the web server, what is application server, and what is database server. You should clearly able to differentiate what is the purpose of web server, what is the purpose of application server and database server. Okay, no matter whether you are into whatever type of testing it is, you should know this terminology. These are fundamentals concepts, testing fundamental concepts, guys, right? I'll stop it here for today. Okay, so let me give a conclusion. Let me go to the application architecture diagram. So, and it also contains what are the different components as well as software and connections as well, how each component, how all those components are connected together. And application architecture diagram helps us to understand how these servers interact with each other to meet the business or user requirement. Okay, now the next question can any interviewer ask is, what is a server, right? So I heard some weird stories across this. So regarding this, many people like take some training from somewhere and they keep some experience or they attend interviews as a fresher, right? And I heard some weird stories around this. When the interviewer asks what is a server, many people are saying that it is a hardware. No, it need not be a hardware. It can be a software as well. Server means it can be a software or a hardware program or a hardware. Server is a software or computer program or hardware which understands your request, process your request, and sends back the response. Clear, guys? Server can be a software or a computer program or a hardware as well. Clear, guys? Which understands your request, which process your request and sends back the response. Server means it need not be a bare metal. It need not be a hardware. It can be a software as well. Clear, guys? Or it can be any computer program which understands your request, process your request, and sends back the response. Is it clear, guys? That is a definition of proper definition of a server. Is it clear or no? Or any queries, guys? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
clear.
Pawan.
So, this is a typical web application architecture, and this is what architecture means. Application architecture means, and you should know about application architecture whenever you are working in any project, right? You should know your application architecture. Okay. Tomorrow we'll discuss what is 2-tier architecture and what is 3-tier architecture, and we'll discuss this application architecture diagram in detail. What does a web server contain? What will be running in web server? What does an app server contain? Right? How your requests are processed, right? So when we discuss this architecture diagram in detail, you'll understand that. So I'll stop it here for today. For those who are watching this session online or through my YouTube channel, thanks for watching. And we are still running enrollments into the current batch. Please WhatsApp me on this number. Like as we started, the current July batch is almost full, guys. That is, it is almost full. We have a cutoff of 30 people actually, but it is almost full. And some people asked, like classroom training. Just because we are planning to start classroom training, we got some, we can accommodate few more people because some of these want to come for classroom. Clear, guys? So if you want to enroll online, so for this online training, live training, either online or classroom, please ping me on this WhatsApp number. Save my WhatsApp number first of all, right? You can contact me anytime later on, but save my WhatsApp number if you haven't saved it. Clear, guys? And thanks for joining. Thanks for watching this session till now, and have a nice day.